Hello, Internet. So yeah, Tekken here with my rundown of my weekly comic book pickup from my pull list. So this week I picked. Also what I thought about, what I read, or what I read and what I thought about. So yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy #2, Uncanny X-Men #5, Uncanny Avengers #7, Wolverine and the X-Men #28, and Ultimate Comics Spider-Man #22, but I'm not going to talk about it because it's not. I want to keep it like Marvel Now and like 616 focused, so I will not be talking about Ultimate Comics Spider-Man, which is a bit of a bummer of an issue anyway. So I'm not really too sad about that. But yeah, I just read the Guardians of the Galaxy #2, really good issue, so I'm about to talk about it. But yeah, this is also the format again this week of I'll read a comic and then I'll record myself immediately afterward talking about it, and then later on I'll just go into Sony Vegas and put some screen captures. Because last week I thought if I did it all in one thing, it would like save me time, but it actually didn't because it still takes a long time for the videos to render. So I'm gonna go ahead and go 100% for the rest of the time I do this. So yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy #1, pretty good issue. I mean #2, I'm sorry, pretty good issue. So we left off last issue where the Badoon had basically come to Earth and started attacking. And so this issue picks up right there, and you have the Guardians and their ship trying to take down these Badoon ships, and they're all like, "All right, well, we all got to split up and take a ship of each person because that's the only way we're going to take them down." And then also Groot is like still I'm not going to say wounded because it's not like the accurate term to use, but like he got basically regressed into like a branch form and like has to regrow back into his full-size Grootness. So Rocket Raccoon basically puts him in like a pot of soil in the beginning of this book on the Guardians of the Galaxy ship before they all blast off to start attacking the Badoon. And then also Gamora is basically like, yeah, I saw this on some I saw this back on the Kree outpost on Rigel 7, and then Star-Lord says, but there's no Kree outpost on Rigel 7. Then Gamora says, not anymore, because they obviously, destroyed it. But what happened at the beginning, in the previous, like the first panel, is basically all the communications are being blocked in that area, and like nobody can get any signals out. And then, so Rocket Raccoon resuscitates Iron Man with like some electric shock to his suit, and then and he's like, okay, I'm back. What happened? And they're like, yeah, they're just getting attacked. He's like, again? And then Starlight says, not kidding, take a look. And then he looks at like all the sensors inside his suit, and he's like, crap, let me get a message to the Avengers. And he's like trying to like send some messages out, but their communications are blocked, so it's not happening. And so, and then they all just like jump off the ship and take a ship, like I said earlier, to like take down in the attack on London. And then we see another scene. It's the negative zone 6 weeks ago. So, because Iron Man basically brings up a point of what is so important about the Earth all of a sudden. So we flash back 6 weeks ago to the negative zone, and this basically ties into like a scene that had been shown. I don't think they went into detail of like what they talked. Actually, yeah. So like it was discussed by Star-Lord's dad that everybody had come to agreement not to touch Earth. So in this meeting in the negative zone, we basically see how that consensus came to be, because there's a meeting of like multiple leaders of the galaxy, which I thought was pretty cool because it shows like all the like big heads of state from different galaxies. So you have the Supreme Intelligence of the Kree Empire, Gladiator, leader of the Shi'ar, Young Annihilus, leader of the Negative Zone, who's also the host of the meeting, the Queen of the Brood, the Allmother of the Asgardians, Freya, and Yagar of the Brotherhood of the Badoon. And so basically, Star-Lord's dad, I forget his name, he's all, like, yeah, so Earth's kind of a trouble spot, and we kind of need to handle the situation. he's like, there's a planet of madness, all this other stuff. It's actually a pretty cool conversation. I'm not gonna like recap everything he says. But he's basically like, yeah, they have a bunch of super powered heroes. Some of them are a bit of a nuisance. Some of them are like a threat to intergalactic peace and stability. And then like Earth is just a pain, and we gotta like clean this up, dudes. And like this like really this like panel of them all looking at this hologram of like the Earth and all the heroes and like stuff and like discussing it. And then let's see, Peter Quill's dad, Star-Lord's dad, is all, so you know, there's a Watcher dude, or I'm sorry, not a Watcher dude. He's talking about the Watcher, the character, and then he's like you know, saying that it has visited the Earth the most times of any planet in the galaxy. And then he's talking about how Galactus has been defeated from Earth superheroes multiple times, which is completely unheard of. Like if you look at all the other planets in the galaxy. And then he talks about how the Phoenix Force is a galactic force that has been known to devastate and destroy planets across the galaxy, goes to Earth, and then ceases to exist. Thanks, Tony Stark. And then let's see. He's talking about how Thanos has attempted to take the planet for himself, but has always failed because he thinks it's some sort of like crossroads of power for the entire galaxy. And then the supreme intelligence of the Kree Empire, he says, it is believed by Lord Thanos that the Infinity Stones are on Earth. And then Star-Lord's dad responds, yes, our intelligence believes that as well. Then Gladiator says, if the Earth is so powerful, maybe Thanos has the right idea. Maybe it needs to be dominated by a superior race now. Straddled into submission now. And then Star-Lord's dad says, but my point, Gladiator, is I don't think that can be done. And then Freya says, what exactly are you saying, Jason? Which I guess is Star-Lord's dad's name, so I can finally start calling him by his name. But then it goes back to London, England, whatever, city, country. With the attack continuing. And actually, this is a really, really good throwdown between the Badoon and the Guardians of the Galaxy. Because it's like one ship per person. They're all just like going all out, like taking down these ships. And you have Drax, who like just drops in on the ship with his giant energy axe thing, wrecking the Badoon. You have Gamora shooting dudes and cutting them up with a sword. Star-Lord is just handling it with his like pistol and like flying around in his suit of armor. And then you have Iron Man just like going to town with his repulsor blasts. Oh, and then we have Raccoon. He has like a line that he like says repeatedly throughout this issue, starting here. He's like, "Blam, murdered you," just like shooting people left and right, killing them. Well, I mean, but the bad guys, Badoon, like those people. And then it also keeps going back to Groot, who's just like growing in like a pot of soil. But he doesn't get any bigger this issue, so I'm guessing he might come back, if not next issue, a couple issues down the line. So they're all going to town on the Badoon ships. And then, I'm trying to think what happens. Oh, yeah, they're just talking. Nothing happening. Talking about stuff. So basically, what happens is that Rocket Raccoon gets to his ship, and then, or like the control center of the ship that he's attacking, and then like Drax is kind of having trouble destroying his ship, but you know he's like still on it. But then like Rocket Raccoon not only does he initiate the self-destruct sequence, he like has it go on a collision course with one of the Badoon ships, which is the one that Drax is on. So Drax is like trying to get off the ship before it hits it, and then like he's almost off, but he's like getting shot at and stuff. And then Gamora like flies in with the jetpack thing, armor, and like gets him. And then like they're both barely able to escape the blast. And like the blast hits them, but like Iron Man's there to catch them, so they're totally cool. So they save the day. The Badoon are down, and like they're like, all right. And then it goes back to the Negative Zone meeting 6 weeks ago. So that conversation basically ended when Freya was like, what exactly are you saying, Jason? When he's like, well, he didn't agree with Gladiator. He's like about just hard or straddle the Earth into submission and just like dominate the planet and the species. But he's like, but my point is, Gladiator, I don't think that can be done. And so Freya's like, what exactly are you saying? So this is like a really interesting part where they cut a deal without cutting a deal. So she says, I am the All-Mother of the Nine Realms. The Nine Realms including the Earth. And so they have discussion pretty much about, I'm like she's basically says, I'm sitting in for Thor as the head of the Asgardians. Anybody that messes with Earth, that's like, or the Earth is under my protection as it was under the protection of Odin before me. I'm sorry, I said Thor. I misspoke. An act of violence or war against it is an act of war with all that I have at my disposal. So, all the Asgardians in that army. And then she says to Peter Quill's dad, Jason, do we understand each other, or is a translator needed? And then there's panels of just people looking at each other. They're not even saying anything. So it's like they kind of had this agreement, even though they didn't like really say anything. So it's kind of like a shady deal just went down. They're like reading between the lines pretty much of like, don't touch Earth. But, I'm not saying I didn't exactly say that. Because she says that, and then they all look at each other, and then he says, well then, that's all you had to say. And then Freya says, I know your kind king all too well. Be happy with what you have. Then she basically, her hologram of the meeting, at the meeting, just like phases out. Peter Quill's dad says, I can't help but call him that, dude. Like, you just I don't know. Oh, shit. Okay. Anyway, so Star-Lord's dad says, well, you heard the woman. Earth is off limits. In fact, let's make that the new rule, shall we? So that's how basically we get the whole Earth is off limits from the first issue that they were talking about. Nobody touches Earth, or when Star-Lord's dad is talking to him in that cantina about, nobody's going to touch Earth and it's off limits for all the enemies of enemies against Earth will not be doing any harm to it. So after the battle on London, Drax is acting weird. Well, not really weird. He's just acting not Drax-like because Star-Lord's all like, dude, Drax, I know you're not okay. You got pretty banged up in that battle. And he's like, I'm fine. I can deal with it. And then he says, that's not like him. Then Iron Man says, what's he usually like? Then Star-Lord says, he's Drax the Destroyer. Then they still don't have any communication, so they're like, okay, we destroyed all those Badoon ships, but we can't get any communication, so what's up with that? So they're talking about that, and then all of a sudden there's a like off-panel text bubble or speech bubble of drop your weapons, and then they look up and there's like a new group of alien invaders in like armor and ships, and they say you are in direct violation of the Spartax Earth Directive. You are under arrest. Then Star-Lord and Rocket Raccoon are like talking, and Star-Lord says, "Are you out of your minds? Do you know who the bleep I am?" It's like, euphemism that's bleeped out, whatever. He's like, I'm Peter Quill, the Star-Lord, Prince of Spartax. Then Rocket Raccoon says, uh-oh, that's not going to work. And then the alien soldier dude in armor says, we know, we have our orders. Direct from the king, the Guardians of the Galaxy are now prisoners of war. To be continued, dun dun dun. So, maybe this was all like some elaborate scheme to like get the Guardians of the Galaxy captured or something, I don't know, but basically the Jason is like going up against Star-Lord now, so I guess through this attack on Earth and like making it off limits for everybody. I'm not sure if that's everybody except the the what's their empire? Spartak's empire, or if everybody including them. But yeah, but that was Guardians of the Galaxy number 2. I enjoyed it, so you know, it's nice action sequences with the whole fighting the ships as they were attacking London. That's pretty nice, and like the whole like secondary discussion, like completely opposite of that action, was all pretty good and stuff. And to see like all the key players in the galaxy are basically like focused on this like whole situation. So let's see like where this goes and how it builds. That'll be very interesting. But yeah, that was it for Guardians of the Galaxy number 2. I think the order I'll be going in today will be Uncanny X-Men, because I love Uncanny X-Men. Uncanny Avengers, because, man, the end of that last issue was really good. And then Wolverine and the X-Men number 28. And that's today's reading order for what I will be talking about. So I'll be right back after this with Uncanny X-Men number... What is this? Uncanny X-Men number 5. Coming up after this. Alright, taking here, I just read Uncanny X-Men number 5. Stuff's going down. So, we start off, and we have director Maria Hill, and then Agent Coulson, some other S.H.I.E.L.D. people in a meeting talking about Cyclops on a helicarrier. And they're just like, so yeah, Cyclops is going around like spouting all this rhetoric about, you know, mutant revolution, blah blah blah. And they're like giving the rundown on like what's been going down like the last few adventures. He's like, because Agent Coulson's like, so yeah, they froze the Avengers and then they ran away. And then Director Hill's like, wait, what? They froze the Avengers? And then Nick Fury's there too, and he's like, looks like our mole in his organization was playing us hard. So basically, they now know that Magneto was just working against them and was totally not being a double agent. Well, he was a double agent because he was acting like he was spying on Scott's team, but he ended up just using it to their own advantage. So they learn that, and then we go to the New Xavier School, and we see Magic with her sword sitting on the floor. And so Scott comes into her room, and he's talking to her about like what happened in the last issue when she completely like lost control of her powers. And so she basically just talks about how that whole like this is basically Ileana talking about what happened last issue for the most part, and how she finds out that her powers are too broken. So it goes into like the last issue when she was like just randomly teleporting and then like catching on fire and stuff. It was like really weird. And then she's like, yeah, I basically went into limbo, which is the dimension between realms. And she's like, Dormammu was there, and he's like the one that did this to me, and why my powers were on the fritz. And this whole like throwdown happens with Dormammu, where like she tries to attack him, but then she's like getting burned, and then, you know, he's all like, you don't even know how to control your powers are broken, you're just some stupid mortal girl in some woman's body, and now I'm going to take them from you. And there's this weird panel, and like he puts his finger into her like stomach, or like he pokes his finger into her, and is like trying to like absorb her power or something. It was really weird. I was like, wow, that's weird. And then but the whole time he's just like chastising her and being like, yeah, these aren't your powers, because you got them, or the powers you're using are not like me, how I'm using these mystical powers where I had to like attune them over time and like master them, and I've like over time I've studied them and all this other stuff. It's like you just have this power that's tied to this realm, and you don't even fully understand this realm or how to control the powers. So that was a pretty cool conversation they had about, you know, the powers and stuff. And then like she herself admits, well, this is later on, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So after he like pokes his stomach into her midsection to like drain her powers or whatever, or do whatever he was doing that was weird, she basically transforms into Darkchild, which is her demon form. So I did not know that, but now I do. And just starts going to town on like all his minions and on him. She has this like epic like sword attack that like decapitates like these three demons in like one stroke. Is pretty cool. And then she just like lunges at him with the sword and just like takes him down like right on the head. It's pretty cool. So yeah, and then like all the lesser demons are there in limbo, and like after she does that, she just like turns around and they all run away. And then so yeah, then Dormammu says after he's like on the ground beaten down, he says, "You don't know where your power is coming from. You don't know the price you'll pay. The Phoenix has broken you, and you can't possibly." And then like before he can finish the sentence, she basically hoof stomps him, which was kind of funny because she just like went berserk. Actually, she says like after she turned into the Darkchild, she didn't really have control of her facilities. Like she was just sitting there watching things happen, like watching a movie where like she wasn't really in control of herself. And so she like went berserk and just like attacked him, and then she couldn't really control the situation. So she attacks him, and then he runs away because, she basically says, if I can ever find a way to kill you, I will. And if you ever touch me or say anything to me ever again, I will come back to Limbo and just torture you to no end. Let's see. Oh, and then like it has her transforming back to like normal mode, and like in the narration column, it's like it was right. My powers are broken, just like yours. Just like every one of us who touched that damned Phoenix Force. The difference here is mine are connected to magic to Limbo. The difference here is that mine are connected to things that I don't fully understand. Truthfully, I never did. I know that I know just enough to know that I don't know everything. In our simpler days, it was good enough, so like she doesn't even... So she's basically just like lamenting on the fact that she never even had full control of her powers, and that her powers were basically over something that she never really understood fully, completely. And now it's kind of backfired that they're broken now and she can't really control them, and she never fully understood them. Let's see. And then she's basically talking about like how the first time since she's like a little girl, she's actually scared and confused because like her powers are just so like broken and out of control, and she doesn't know what to do. She's like having this like conversation with Cyclops about, like I feel bad, or I don't know what's going on. And Cyclops is like, are you sick? Like, what's wrong with you? Can we take you to like Doctor Strange to like sort this out? But then it's like, but then they're both like, well, he's an Avenger, so that'll complicate things. And then like in like as they're talking, she turns into like demon form kind of halfway, and there's like screams being heard throughout the new Xavier school, so all the other students are hearing this and like, what the F is going on? And then it like goes to them to like see what they're talking about, and they're having this like, it's basically like at the end of the last issue where they all like met up in that room like for the first time. And then we see Emma talking to the Cuckoo sisters. She's like, can you tell me what's going on up there, and like read her mind and stuff. And then they just tell her powers are broken just like yours, just like Cyclops's. And then she says, is she going to be okay? Should we run? And then one of them says, or not says, but like thinks she's hurting, poor thing. And then like Ileana's trying to be like, oh, I'm okay, yeah, whatever. And then Cyclops is like, yeah, you're not okay. We totally need to get help for this situation. And then we have Angel and Magneto having a discussion where Magneto says, I must say, I'm surprised and delighted that you've joined us, Angel. I'm proud of you for breaking ranks with the other original X-Men. You will do well here. And then Angel replies and says, and all of a sudden, it dawns on me that I'm now going to Magneto's school for gifted youngsters. I may not have thought this out completely. So yeah, and like the screaming continues, and then the Cuckoo sisters are like, magic has it under control for now. yeah, for now. Should we be afraid? Let's see. And then Magic is talking to Cyclops about, I don't want to mess this up for us. We need this school to work, and this has to be our last second chance. Then Cyclops says, we'll fix ourselves, train ourselves, get our students on their feet, then we'll get this new mutant revolution on the road, okay? And it's like, he has this like weird Mr. Rogers smile, like everything's gonna be okay, and it's just really, really weird. And then it goes back to Magneto and Angel, and then Angel says, may I say, Magneto, compared to the last time I saw you, you seem substantially less, and like he doesn't even need to finish the sentence, and Magneto's like, crazy? And Angel says, crazy is a good word. And then Magneto's like, yeah, I am less crazy. And then Angel says, you would have to be. And then we have a funny part where we have Triage, who's all like, if I may, as long as we have a moment. Oh my god, triplets, like just staring at the Cuckoo sisters. And then Emma is all like, boys, be careful. And then he just says, hi. And then Emma says, you've been warned. And then we have like a really funny scene where it's like the three of the Cuckoo sisters turn around, and one of them says, look at you. And the other one says, what's your name, handsome? And then it like has him in a panel with nothing spoken. And then the next panel is like, he says, I don't remember. And then the three of them basically just like say, that's right, we just made it so you don't remember your name. Think thoughts like you, or thinking about us again, and we'll make it so you forget what sex you are. So it's like, yeah, don't mess with the telepaths because they will F you up. Or just really F with you. And then he says, oh. And then Emma says, girls, learn to take a compliment. And then Cyclops comes back into the room. He's like, alright, everybody's getting to know each other, yeah. Magneto asks, is everything alright? Angel's like, what is this place got? And then Cyclops says, we're working on it. Okay, we're working on it. And then after they come back into the room, Tempest is all, I have to say, Miss Frost, crazy as all this has been, that is a beautiful man. And then she says, Angel, you'll discover, Eva, that the wings have a bit of a funk to them. And then she says, no, I mean Cyclops. And then like her look from like the last panel from like a happy face goes to like a frown of just like, you're stepping in on my man, which is pretty funny. Let's see. And then Cyclops says, okay, here's what's going to happen. So obviously, Ilyana is having some trouble. So we're going to go visit Doctor Strange to see if he can't help us shed some light on the... And then before he can finish the sentence, she's like, Scott. And then he says, problem. And then basically magic flares up again. And she says, I'm not doing this. And then Cyclops says, doing. And then they're all like teleported, in the process of being teleported. And Emma's like, Scott, knock her out. And everybody's freaking out because they don't know where they're about to be teleported to. And then they come to, and they're in limbo. And then Cyclops is asking Ilyana, who did this? How'd this happen? And then she turns into Darkchild, and she says, it's not me. And it's like, to be continued. So dun dun dun, they're in limbo now, and that's gonna be a crazy time with the New Mutants. Like, that's like a freaked up place to be. Place you don't want to be if you have no idea how to fight for yourself. But yeah, that was a very interesting issue. I enjoyed it. Yeah, and and I'm at 30 minutes now, so I guess I'll start part 2 since this has gone on long enough. And I'll be back after this with Uncanny Avengers number 7.